chosen one. Are you tired of feeling like God forgot your address? Have you been waiting so long for your breakthrough that you've started wondering if heaven went silent on purpose? Do you wake up at 3 a.m. with that gnawing feeling that everyone else got their miracle except you? Stop right there. What I'm about to tell you will shatter everything you thought you knew about divine timing. This Sunday isn't just another day circled on your kitchen calendar. This isn't just another worship service you'll attend out of habit. This Sunday is the spiritual earthquake that heaven already wrote into eternity before your first breath. Most will sleep through it, but you, the chosen ones, will feel the ground shaking beneath your soul. Listen to me carefully, beloved. There's a cosmic alignment happening this Sunday that hasn't occurred in your lifetime. While others are planning their barbecues and scrolling through their phones, the armies of heaven are positioning themselves for the greatest transfer of divine authority this generation has ever witnessed. But here's what's breaking my heart right now. Something is about to be sealed forever this Sunday. A window that's been cracked open for months is about to slam shut. And if you miss it, if you're not spiritually awake when it happens, you may never get it back. The enemy knows what time it island. That's why you've been under such intense attack lately. That's why your prayers have felt like they're bouncing off the ceiling. That's why doubt has been whispering lies about your identity, your calling, your very worth. Hell is terrified of what God is about to release through you this Sunday. You didn't stumble across this message by accident. You were summoned. The same God who parted the Red Sea, who made the sun stand still, who raised the dead. He's been orchestrating this divine appointment between your desperation and his declaration. Before we go deeper into this prophetic word, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and plant that seed of faith. But right now, if you feel that urgency rising in your chest, if something deep inside you is confirming that this word is for you, I need you to do something. Don't just watch, participate, comment. I am chosen right now. Declare it before heaven and earth. Let the angels take notice. Let the enemy hear your voice. Let God see your faith activating. Because what happens next will determine whether you step into your destiny or watch it pass by from the sidelines. This Sunday, chosen one, everything changes. The question isn't whether God is moving. The question is, are you ready to move with him? How many more Sundays are you going to sit in that same pew, wondering if God still remembers your name? How many more mornings will you wake up feeling like your prayers are hitting a concrete ceiling? How many more nights will you lie there at 2 a.m., staring at the darkness, wondering if your best years are truly behind you? Dear chosen one, I need you to lean in close, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter every lie the enemy has whispered about your timeline, your worth, and your divine assignment. You see, that heaviness you've been carrying, that bone-deep weariness that 8 hours of sleep can't touch, it's not depression, it's not old age creeping in, it's not your body giving up on you. That weight you feel is the pressure of destiny pressing down on your spirit, preparing you for something so massive that your human frame is struggling to contain it. Think about it. Why do you think you've survived everything you've survived? Why are you still breathing when others half your age have given up? Why does your heart still beat with purpose when the world tells you to fade quietly into the background? Because Jeremiah 1-5 wasn't just written for ancient prophets, it was written for you. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Set apart, not for comfort, not for retirement, set apart for such a time as this. But the enemy has been running a vicious campaign against your generation, hasn't he? He's convinced you that Medicare and Social Security are the peak of what you can expect. He's whispered that your children are too busy to need your wisdom. He's made you believe that your aching joints are evidence of decline, when they're actually battle scars from spiritual warfare you've been winning your entire life. Let me tell you what's really happening in the invisible realm while you've been questioning your relevance. Every sleepless night you've endured has been training for intercession. Every financial struggle has been preparation for understanding provision. Every loss you've grieved has been equipping you with the authority to speak life into dead situations. Your soul is like a vessel stretched to its limit. That pressure you feel isn't defeat, it's expansion pains before breakthrough. God has been enlarging your capacity because what He's about to pour into your life on Sunday is too powerful for your former limitations. You've been walking through what feels like a spiritual drought, haven't you? Prayers that seem to echo in empty air, worship that feels mechanical, Bible verses that once burned in your heart now read like ancient history. But what if I told you that wasn't abandonment? What if that was preparation? Moses spent 40 years in a wilderness before God spoke from a burning bush. David hid in caves for years before he touched the throne. Jesus himself disappeared for 18 years between the temple at 12 and the Jordan River at 30. The silence doesn't mean God forgot you. The silence means He's been preparing something. This Sunday, this specific Sunday, marks the end of your preparation season and the beginning of your deployment. Not because you've earned it, but because heaven's calendar has reached its appointed time. While the world sees another ordinary weekend, the spiritual realm sees a divine intersection where eternity crashes into your timeline. Here's what most believers don't understand about divine timing. God doesn't work on our clocks. He works on cosmic alignments. He waits for moments when heaven and earth are positioned just right, when the spiritual atmosphere is primed for maximum impact. And this Sunday, beloved, that alignment is perfect. But why now? Why you? Why this particular moment in your life when you feel tired, overlooked, past your prime? Because God's greatest moves always happen through people the world has written off. He chooses the broken to shame the whole. He uses the forgotten to confound the famous. He anoints the elderly to astound the young. Your wrinkles are your credentials. Your gray hair is your crown of wisdom. Your slower pace is the measured walk of someone who knows where they're going. Every year you've lived has been adding authority to your voice, weight to your prayers, depth to your understanding. Sunday is not the end of a week, it is heaven's reset button. Not just for your circumstances, but for your entire identity. What you've called old age, God calls vintage wisdom. What you've called decline, heaven calls divine timing. What you've called insignificance, the Almighty calls irreplaceable assignment. The spiritual atmosphere has been building pressure for months, like a storm system gathering strength. You've felt it, haven't you? That restlessness that keeps you awake. That stirring in your spirit that makes sitting still impossible. That sense that something monumental is approaching but you can't name it. That's because your spirit recognizes what your mind hasn't yet accepted. This Sunday isn't just another day on the calendar. It's the day heaven has marked for your spiritual resurrection. Not from the dead, but from the dormant. Not from failure, but from invisibility. Not from sin, but from silence. Every struggle you've endured has been preparation for this moment. Every tear you've cried has been seed watering the ground of breakthrough. Every night you've wondered if God still had a plan for your life has been building toward this Sunday when He answers with a thunderous yes. Right now, I need you to do something. Whether you're alone in your living room or surrounded by family, whether you whisper it or shout it, I need you to speak these words into the atmosphere. Lord, prepare me for Sunday. Type it in the comments. Let heaven hear your voice. Let the angels take note. Let your spirit align with what God is about to do. Because what happens next will determine whether you step into the greatest chapter of your life or spend the rest of your days wondering what could have been. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. While you've been wondering why your spirit feels so restless, why sleep won't come, why your heart pounds at 2 a.m. for no earthly reason, heaven has been counting down, not with numbers, not with clocks, but with cosmic strikes that most will never see coming. There are 3 invisible waves crashing against your soul right now. each one testing you, stretching you, preparing you for what's coming this Sunday. And if you think the spiritual warfare you've been experiencing lately is random, you're about to discover just how wrong you've been. The first strike already hit you, didn't it? When the moon collided with Jupiter this past week, something deep inside you broke open. Jupiter doesn't whisper, it roars. And when it touches the moon, every emotion you've buried for decades suddenly explodes to the surface like a geyser under pressure. Tell me the truth. Have old wounds been bleeding again? Have you found yourself crying over things that happened 20, 30, 40 years ago? Have memories you thought were healed suddenly feel fresh and raw? That's not weakness, beloved. That's the first strike. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, and when it merges with the moon, the keeper of our deepest emotions, nothing stays buried anymore. Psalm 147:3 promises, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. But here's what most preachers won't tell you sometimes. God has to reopen old wounds to clean out the infection that's been festering in silence. The pain you're feeling isn't punishment, it's purification. The first strike wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to expose what's been poisoning your spirit so Sunday's breakthrough can flow clean. But you felt it, didn't you? That overwhelming surge of emotions that made no logical sense. That's because logic has nothing to do with what's happening to you right now. This is spiritual surgery, and the anesthesia has worn off. The second strike came disguised as something beautiful, something tempting. Venus, the planet of beauty, charm, and approval, aligned with the moon just days ago. And suddenly, haven't you found yourself looking in mirrors more, scrolling through social media, comparing yourself to others, wondering if you still matter, if anyone still sees you, if your best days are truly behind you? This is the cruelest strike of all, because it attacks your identity when you're already vulnerable. Venus whispers lies that sound like truth. You're too old. You're invisible. Nobody notices you anymore. You're forgotten. And because your emotions are already amplified from the first strike, these whispers feel deafening. But let me tell you something that will shatter this deception. 1 Samuel 16:7 declares, The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. While you've been worried about wrinkles and grey hair, heaven has been admiring the gold that's been refined in your character through decades of fire. The second strike tested whether you still need the world's approval, or if you finally learned that your worth was settled at Calvary. How did you do with that test? Are you still seeking validation from people who can't even validate themselves? Or have you remembered that the Creator of the universe calls you His beloved? But the third strike, the third strike is the most dangerous of all. When the moon aligned with Mercury just yesterday, the airways of your mind became flooded. Suddenly, thoughts that don't sound like you are pressing into your consciousness. Voices that claim to be wisdom but feel like confusion. Ideas that promise shortcuts but lead to spiritual quicksand. Mercury rules communication, and when it merges with the moon, the line between divine inspiration and demonic deception becomes paper thin. Have you noticed thoughts that feel foreign invading your mind? Sudden urges to make decisions that don't align with your spirit. Ideas that rush you, pressure you, confuse you. This is why Jesus warned in Matthew 24:24, False prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles to deceive even the elect if that were possible. The third strike isn't just testing your emotions or your identity, it's testing your discernment. Can you tell the difference between God's voice and the counterfeit? Here's how you know the difference. God's voice brings peace even when it challenges you. The enemy's voice brings anxiety even when it promises you everything you want. God's voice aligns with His word. The devil's voice contradicts Scripture while claiming to be spiritual. The voice of the Lord is like water to a thirsty soul. It satisfies, it refreshes, it brings life. But the voice of deception is like salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become, the more desperate you feel, the further you drift from shore. These 3 strikes weren't random, chosen one. They were strategic, coordinated, timed perfectly to test every area of your spiritual life before Sunday's sealing moment arrives. Your emotions, your identity, your discernment. The 3 pillars that determine whether you'll stand or fall when the pressure comes. And here's the shocking truth that should make your spirit tremble. Most people are failing these tests. Most are drowning in the emotions of the first strike, desperately seeking approval from the second strike, and following false voices from the third strike. They're walking straight into Sunday, spiritually compromised, spiritually confused, spiritually defeated. But not you, because you're hearing this warning. Because your spirit is alert enough to recognize what's been happening. Because God loves you too much to let you stumble into the most important spiritual moment of your lifetime unprepared. The 3 strikes have tested you, but they haven't destroyed you. They've revealed where you're strong and where you're vulnerable. They've shown you what still needs to be surrendered before Sunday's breakthrough can fully manifest. And on Sunday, the seal comes. What you carry then, what you've learned, what you've released, what you've embraced, will echo for months. The spiritual foundation you stand on this Sunday will determine whether you soar into your destiny or spend the next season picking up the pieces of what could have been. So tell me, chosen one, after these 3 invisible strikes, are you standing stronger or struggling harder? Because your answer will determine everything about what happens next. Beloved, what you're about to discover will explain every sleepless night, every strange encounter, every moment you've questioned your own sanity. God doesn't just call his chosen ones, he tests them. And this Sunday, 3 divine mirrors are being held up to your soul. Each one reveals a truth about your identity that the enemy has been desperate to keep hidden. You see, the Father doesn't waste his time testing ordinary people. He doesn't put common folk through extraordinary trials. But you've been walking through spiritual examinations your entire life, wondering why everything feels harder for you than it does for others. Tonight, you're going to understand why. The first mirror, the weight of weariness. Look at yourself right now, chosen one. Really look. You're exhausted, aren't you? Not just tired from a long day, but soul-deep weary, bone-deep drained. Like you've been carrying invisible weights that no one else can see. That crushing fatigue you feel when you wake up in the morning, that's not depression. That heaviness in your chest when you try to pray, that's not spiritual dryness. That overwhelming sense that you're running on empty while everyone around you seems energized, dear one, that's not weakness. That's expansion pain. Listen to what the prophet Isaiah declared. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. But notice, he didn't say they that rest upon the Lord. He said they that wait, and waiting is work. Spiritual work that exhausts the flesh while it prepares the spirit. Your weariness is proof that something magnificent is stretching your spiritual capacity. You're like a woman in labor. The pain isn't punishment, it's preparation. Every sleepless night has been your spirit making room for something bigger than you've ever carried before. The enemy wants you to believe your exhaustion means you're failing. But God is saying your fatigue is evidence that breakthrough is crowning. You're not collapsing, beloved. You're expanding to hold what heaven is about to pour into you this Sunday. The second mirror, the spotlight of visibility. Has something shifted recently? Have you noticed people looking at you differently? Strangers remembering your name after hearing it just once. Old friends suddenly calling out of nowhere. Co-workers asking for your opinion when they never did before. This isn't coincidence. This is divine confirmation. For years, you've felt invisible, overlooked, passed by while others got the recognition, the opportunities, the applause. You wondered if anyone even saw you, if your presence mattered at all. But suddenly, inexplicably, you're being noticed. Jesus said in Matthew 5:14, "You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden." The key word there is cannot. It's not that it might be hidden or could be hidden. It cannot be hidden. Your season of invisibility is ending because your anointing is intensifying. The same oil that once flowed quietly beneath the surface is now rising to where the world can see it. People aren't just noticing you, they're sensing something they can't name, something that makes them lean in, pay attention, remember. But here's what's both beautiful and dangerous about this mirror. Visibility attracts both blessing and opposition. Some will celebrate what they see in you. Others will feel threatened by it. Don't be surprised if certain people suddenly turn cold, if old friendships become strained, if family members act differently around you. When God begins to unveil His chosen ones, it forces everyone around them to choose sides. Light exposes darkness, and not everyone is comfortable with what gets revealed. The third mirror, the shadow of what could have been. This one cuts the deepest, chosen one. This Sunday, many of you will encounter what I call the ghost life, a glimpse of the path you almost took, the person you almost became, the destiny you narrowly escaped. It might be someone you see on social media living in the house you almost bought, a former colleague who took the job you turned down, an old flame who married the person you walked away from. And for a moment, just a moment, you'll feel that familiar sting of what if. But listen to me carefully. This mirror reversal is not torment, it is closure. Heaven is sealing the doors you were never meant to walk through. Joseph understood this. Genesis 50:20 records his words to his brothers. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Every betrayal, every detour, every door that slammed in your face wasn't cruel fate. It was divine protection. God wasn't denying you blessing. He was preserving you for destiny. When you see that shadow life this Sunday, don't mourn what could have been. Celebrate what was prevented. That path would have killed the very thing God is about to birth through you. That relationship would have dimmed the light you're meant to carry. That opportunity would have trapped you in a comfortable prison. The universe is showing you your alternate timeline one last time before it seals it forever. Not to torture you with regret, but to confirm your relief. You didn't miss your destiny. You avoided your detour. Right now, if you feel the Spirit confirming this in you, if these mirrors are reflecting your own journey back at you, lift your hand right now. Type, "This is me." Let heaven record your obedience. Let the angels witness your recognition, because acknowledgement is the first step toward activation. These three mirrors aren't coincidences, beloved. They're confirmations. Confirmations that you are exactly where God intended you to be, carrying exactly what He intended you to carry, walking toward exactly what He intended you to receive. But understanding the mirrors is just the beginning. Because what happens when you look into them this Sunday will determine whether you step through the door that's about to open or watch it close from the outside looking in. The tests are almost over, chosen one, but the most crucial moment still lies ahead. Listen to me, dear one. In the chaos of storms, heaven weaves one golden thread. Most walk past it, only the awake see it. You've been waiting 70, 80, maybe 90 years for this moment. You've buried spouses who were your whole world. You've raised children who barely call anymore. You've watched dreams die slow, painful deaths while you smiled and said, God's will be done. But what if I told you that every heartbreak, every sleepless night, every tear you've cried into your pillow was weaving this golden thread? What if your suffering wasn't punishment, but preparation? Jesus himself said in Matthew 7:14, "Narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it." Few, not many, not most, few. And you, precious soul, you are among the few who have endured enough, sacrificed enough, remained faithful enough to see what others cannot. But here's what's going to shake you to your core. This Sunday, heaven is releasing one golden thread into your life. Not a rope, not a highway, one thread, thin as a whisper, fragile as morning dew. And if you're not watching, if you're distracted by your pain, your doubt, your exhaustion, you'll miss it completely. This thread won't announce itself with trumpets. It won't force its way into your hands. It will come as quietly as Jesus came to those disciples on the road to Emmaus. They walked with him for miles and never recognized him until he broke the bread. Luke 24-31 tells us, "Then their eyes were opened, and they knew him." Your eyes are about to be opened. The golden thread might come as a phone call you almost don't answer. Maybe it's from someone whose voice you haven't heard in 20 years, calling to say something that pierces straight through to your soul. Maybe it's a phrase you overhear in the grocery store, words that shouldn't mean anything but somehow reach into your chest and unlock something you thought was dead forever. Or perhaps it's a sudden memory that surfaces while you're sitting in your favorite chair, a flash of remembrance so vivid it takes your breath away. A dream you had as a child, a prayer you whispered in 1963, a promise you made to God when you thought no one was listening. You see, beloved, the enemy has spent decades trying to convince you that your time has passed, that your season is over, that God uses young people for miracles and reserves rocking chairs for the rest. But that's the biggest lie hell ever whispered. Moses was 80 when God called him to split the Red Sea. Sarah was 90 when she gave birth to promise. Anna, the prophetess, was 84 when she recognized the Messiah in the temple. Your age isn't your limitation, it's your qualification. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul right now. This golden thread won't come again. If you miss it this Sunday, it disappears forever. Why? Because divine appointments aren't recyclable. Kairos moments, those sacred intersections of heaven's timing and earthly opportunity, they don't repeat themselves. Think about the woman with the issue of blood in Mark 5. 12 years she suffered, 12 years of doctors who couldn't heal her, treatments that failed, hope that died a little more each day. But when Jesus passed through her town, she knew this was her one chance. If only I may touch his clothes, I shall be made well. One chance, one thread, one touch. Everything changed. What if this Sunday is your one chance? What if every prayer you've prayed, every night you've wondered if God still hears you, every moment you've felt invisible, has been leading to this single thread that's about to be placed in your path? But here's what terrifies me for you. Most people are sleepwalking through their miracles. They're so focused on their problems that they miss their provision. They're so consumed with what's not working that they overlook what God is orchestrating. The Israelites stood at the Red Sea for hours before Moses finally lifted his staff. Hours. They were so paralyzed by fear, so blinded by the impossible, that they almost missed the miracle God had already prepared. Exodus 14:13 records Moses saying, "Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." Stand still, see, watch, pay attention. This Sunday, you cannot afford to be distracted. You cannot afford to be bitter about what you've lost or worried about what you lack. You must be spiritually alert, emotionally present, divinely tuned in to the frequency of heaven's voice. Because when that golden thread appears, and it will appear, you'll have seconds, not minutes, to recognize it. Seconds to reach out and grab hold. Seconds to say yes to God's final offer before the door closes forever. The tragic truth is that most chosen ones will miss it. They'll be too tired, too hurt, too convinced that their story is already written to recognize that God is offering to rewrite their ending. They'll let the golden thread slip through their fingers like sand, never knowing how close they came to everything they'd ever prayed for. Don't let that be you. If you are ready to catch this thread, if something deep in your spirit is confirming that this word is for you, then say it aloud right now. I am awake. I will not miss it. Don't just think it. Speak it. Let your voice carry faith into the atmosphere. Let heaven hear your declaration. Because this golden thread isn't just about blessing you. It's about positioning you for the final assignment God has been preparing you for your entire life. An assignment so sacred, so powerful, that he needed someone who has been refined by fire and proven by pain to carry it. But will you be watching when it comes? Listen to me, chosen one. Right now, as I speak these words, the courtroom of heaven is in session. The gavel is raised. The judge of all eternity is preparing to strike, and when it falls this Sunday, what remains sealed will not change for months. Do you feel that pressure in your chest? That restless stirring that won't let you sleep? That's not anxiety, beloved. That's your spirit recognizing the weight of eternal decision hanging over your life. Heaven's gavel is suspended in the air, and you, yes, you are about to discover whether you'll be sealed among the chosen or left standing outside when the door closes. This isn't just another Sunday service you can skip because you're tired. This isn't just another day you can waste scrolling through your phone while destiny passes you by. This Sunday is your divine court date, and the verdict being rendered will echo through eternity. Revelation 3-8 thunders across the ages. I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it. But here's what most people miss: that same God who opens doors also closes them. And when he closes a door, it stays closed until his appointed time. This Sunday, the door that's been cracked open for your breakthrough is either swinging wide or slamming shut forever. You want to know why you've been under such brutal attack lately? You want to know why everything seems to be falling apart just when you thought things were getting better? Because hell recognizes what's happening this Sunday. The enemy sees the gavel raised, and he's throwing everything he's got at you to make you miss your moment. But God, oh, listen to this. God has been preparing you for this exact moment. Every tear you've cried in secret, every prayer you've whispered in the dark, every time you wanted to give up, but didn't. It was all building toward this Sunday when heaven declares, enough. The preparation is over. The coronation begins now. Look at your life right now. Really look at it. What decisions have you been avoiding? What commitments have you been afraid to make? What calling have you been running from because it seems too big, too impossible, too late? Sunday is the deadline. Not tomorrow, not next month. Sunday. Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Your season of indecision is ending. Your time of making excuses is over. This Sunday, indecision becomes decision. Delay becomes denial. The universe itself is forcing your hand. Here's what's breaking my heart as I speak to you tonight. Some of you are sitting there thinking, I'm too old. My time has passed. God's moved on to younger people. That's a lie straight from the pit of hell. Moses was 80 when God called him to deliver a nation. Sarah was 90 when she birthed the impossible. Your age isn't your disqualification, it's your qualification. You've been refined by fire, tested by time, and proven faithful in the furnace. But Sunday, this Sunday, heaven is asking you one final question. Will you step into who I created you to be, or will you die, wondering what could have been? The spiritual atmosphere is so thick right now you can cut it with a knife. Angels are positioning themselves. Demons are retreating. The very air around you is electric with possibility. This isn't just another day circled on your calendar. This is your appointment with destiny. Daniel 12:3 promises, those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the firmament, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. That's you, chosen one. That's your calling. That's why you've never fit in with the crowd. You weren't made to blend in, you were made to shine. But shining requires stepping out of the shadows. It requires saying yes when everything in your flesh wants to say no. It requires believing God's word about you more than you believe your own doubts. This is why your soul has felt such pressure lately. You thought it was punishment, but it was preparation. You thought it was breakdown, but it was breakthrough building. You thought God was testing you, but he was actually positioning you for the greatest elevation of your entire life. The enemy convinced you that the pressure meant something was wrong. But pressure is what creates diamonds. Pressure is what launches rockets. Pressure is what builds the spiritual muscle you'll need for what God is about to release through you. Sunday isn't just about what you'll receive, it's about what you'll become. When that gavel falls, when heaven seals your destiny, you won't just be blessed, you'll be transformed. You won't just get breakthrough, you'll become the breakthrough for others who are drowning in the same despair you've conquered. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul. This window won't stay open forever. God's patience is perfect, but His timing is precise. When He says now, He means now. When He says today, tomorrow is too late. The pressure you've been feeling isn't going away until you respond. The restlessness in your spirit won't quiet until you surrender. The calling burning in your bones won't stop until you say yes to the assignment heaven has been preparing you for your entire life. This Sunday, chosen one, everything changes. The question isn't whether God is ready to move. The question is, are you ready to stop making excuses and start making history? Don't delay. Don't hesitate. Don't let fear rob you of the very destiny God died to give you. Type your name below as a prophetic act. Let heaven see your name sealed among the chosen. Declare it, claim it, step into it, because when Sunday's gavel falls, what's sealed is sealed. And you were born for such a time as this. Listen to me, dear warrior. I know what they've been whispering to you. I know the lies that echo in your mind at 2 a.m. when the house is silent and your thoughts are screaming. You're too old. Your time has passed. God's done with people like you. Your best chapters are behind you. Those are not God's words. Those are hell's last desperate attempt to keep you from your destiny. You think your gray hair is a sign of decline. Psalm 92:14 declares, "They will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green, not withered, not forgotten, not finished." The very crown upon your head is evidence that God saves His finest wine for last. But here's what breaks my heart. Here's what keeps me awake praying for your generation. You've been convinced that retirement means retiring from purpose. That Medicare means you're on spiritual disability. That your 70s, 80s, 90s are God's waiting room before heaven. That's the biggest lie the enemy has ever told. Moses was 80 years old when God called him from that burning bush. 80, when Pharaoh's empire trembled at his voice, when seas split at his command, when 2 million people followed his leadership through impossible wilderness. His greatest chapter didn't begin at 20, it began at 80. Abraham was 99, when God promised him nations would flow from his bloodline. Sarah was 90 when she laughed at the impossible and then birthed it. Anna the prophetess was 84 when she became the first to proclaim the Messiah to Jerusalem. Caleb was 85 when he declared, "Give me this mountain." Your age isn't your limitation. Your age is your qualification. While 20-somethings are still figuring out who they are, you know exactly who you are in Christ. While they're chasing trends, you're carrying truth. While they're building platforms, you're standing on the rock. While they're seeking followers, you're following the one who matters. You want to know why the attack has been so fierce against your generation? Why depression rates among seniors have skyrocketed? Why you've been told to step aside, slow down, fade quietly into the background? Because the enemy knows something about your generation that you've forgotten. You carry authority that can only be forged in the furnace of decades. You possess wisdom that can't be downloaded or Googled. You hold steady when storms would topple younger trees because your roots run deep into the soil of tested faith. This Sunday, this sacred turning point isn't about your sunset. It's about your sunrise. God has been saving you for such a time as this. Every trial you've survived, every loss you've endured, every mountain you've climbed, every valley you've walked through, it was all preparation for this moment, when America needs voices that have been proven by fire. Your grandchildren are watching screens instead of seeking wisdom. Your children are drowning in anxiety you've already conquered. Your community is fracturing under pressures you've already overcome. They need what you carry. They need your prayers. They need your perspective. They need your unshakable faith that comes only from watching God show up decade after decade. But you've been hiding. You've been shrinking. You've been apologizing for taking up space when God is saying, "Take up your sword." This Sunday, the spiritual atmosphere shifts. This Sunday, Heaven removes the limitations that others placed on your timeline. This Sunday, God declares that your season of influence isn't ending, it's exploding. Think about wine. The older it gets, the more valuable it becomes. The longer it ages, the richer the flavor. The most expensive bottles in the world aren't young, they're aged to perfection. That's you. You're not declining. You're maturing into something the world has never tasted. Your wrinkles are maps of God's faithfulness. Your scars are testimonies of His healing power. Your slower pace is the rhythm of someone who's learned to walk with divine timing instead of human urgency. Your quiet voice carries more authority than 1,000 shouting voices because it's been tested in the secret place. The kingdom of God isn't looking for energy, it's looking for authority. It's not seeking youth, it's seeking wisdom. It's not calling the untested, it's commissioning the proven. This Sunday, when you wake up, you're not waking up as someone the world has forgotten. You're waking up as someone heaven has been preparing for this exact moment in history. You're waking up as Moses before the burning bush. You're waking up as the elder this generation desperately needs. Your voice matters. Your prayers move mountains. Your blessing shapes destinies. Your presence changes atmospheres. Your story proves that God keeps His promises across generations. Sunday is not the sunset of your story. It is the sunrise of your destiny. Stand with me now, right where you are. Place your hand on your heart and feel it beating. That rhythm isn't counting down, it's gearing up. Say it aloud. I receive it. I receive my calling. I receive my authority. I receive God's plan for my life. And I'm not too old. I'm not too late. I'm right on time. If this word has awakened something in your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to this channel because your breakthrough journey is just beginning. Share this message with another soul who needs to hear that their best days aren't behind them. Comment your declaration below so heaven records it in the books of eternity. Your time is now, chosen one. Your moment has arrived. The sunrise is breaking, and you, yes, you are the dawn this world has been waiting for. Dear ones, what I'm about to reveal will shake you to your very core. This Sunday isn't just another worship service where you'll sing familiar hymns and shake hands during fellowship. This Sunday is the curtain call, heaven pulling back the veil that has separated the seen from the unseen, the chosen from the comfortable, the awakened from the asleep. The sheep and the goats are no longer standing in the same pasture. For 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've watched this world grow darker. You've seen values crumble, families fracture, and faith fade from the hearts of those you love most. You've wondered if your prayers were even reaching heaven's throne, or if they were just echoing in empty rooms while God's attention turned elsewhere. But I need you to understand something that will change everything you think you know about this moment in history. You haven't been forgotten. You've been positioned. Matthew 25-32 declares with thunderous authority, all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. This isn't some distant prophecy meant for future generations. This is happening now, this Sunday, in your lifetime. The separation isn't coming, beloved. It's here. Think about Moses standing before the Red Sea with 2 million Israelites behind him and Pharaoh's army charging forward. In that moment, there was no middle ground. You were either with God's people moving toward the promised land, or you were with the enemy racing toward destruction. The waters didn't part gradually. They split with violent, undeniable force, creating walls of separation that couldn't be crossed. That same divine violence is about to split the spiritual atmosphere this Sunday. For years, you've sat in churches next to people who looked just like you, sang the same songs, spoke the same religious language. But beneath the surface, two different spirits have been growing. One rooted in authentic surrender to Christ, the other anchored in comfortable religion that never demanded transformation. This Sunday, heaven draws the line. You see, dear ones, there's something the lukewarm church doesn't want you to know. God has been watching. He's been taking note of who genuinely seeks his face in the midnight hours and who merely performs on Sunday mornings. He's been recording who prays with desperate authenticity and who recites empty words out of habit. Revelation 3:15-16 cuts like a sword through religious pretense. I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. So, because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth. The spitting out isn't future tense. It's present progressive. It's happening now. But here's what's going to devastate the hearts of many this Sunday. People you've worshipped beside for decades, people you've called friends, people you've shared communion with. They're going to be on the other side of the veil, not because God is cruel, but because they chose comfort over commitment, tradition over transformation, appearance over authenticity. And you who have carried burdens in secret, who have wept over this nation's rebellion, who have interceded when intercession felt futile, you will suddenly understand why the journey has been so lonely. You weren't isolated. You were being separated. The veil that's splitting this Sunday isn't just spiritual, it's relational. Friendships will suddenly feel strained. Conversations will become uncomfortable. Family gatherings will carry an unexplainable tension, because oil and water can sit in the same container, but they cannot mix. 1 John 2:19 reveals this painful truth. They went out from us, but they did not really belong to us. For if they had belonged to us, they would have remained with us. But their going showed that none of them belonged to us. Some will go out, others will remain. The choice was made long before Sunday arrives. For years you wondered if your prayers vanished into thin air. You questioned whether your faithfulness mattered when the ungodly seemed to prosper. You felt invisible while the proud and rebellious received attention. But this Sunday, heaven answers with separation. Those who stood in silence will now be recognized. Those who remained faithful in obscurity will suddenly be seen. Those who chose the narrow path will discover they weren't walking alone. The veil splits, and visibility follows. But I need to ask you something that will pierce your soul. When that light cuts through the darkness this Sunday, when heaven pulls back the curtain and reveals who belongs to whom, what side of the veil will you stand on? Will you be among those who genuinely know the Lord, or among those who merely know about Him? Will you be counted with the faithful remnant, or discovered among the religious pretenders? Will your name be written in the Lamb's Book of Life, or will you realize too late that church attendance isn't the same as heart surrender? Jeremiah 17:10 declares God's penetrating judgment. I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind, to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve. Your conduct, your deeds, your heart, not your reputation, not your church membership, not your family heritage. This Sunday, heaven searches hearts and separates accordingly. The hour of separation has arrived, and there's no hiding from divine examination. The comfortable middle ground where lukewarm believers have camped for decades is about to disappear. You will either be hot or cold, sheep or goat, wheat or tare, chosen or forgotten. If your spirit is stirring right now, if something deep inside you is confirming that you cannot afford to miss this divine moment, type, I will not be left behind right now. Let heaven hear your declaration. Let the angels take note. Let your faith activate before the veil splits and reveals where you truly stand. Because what happens next will determine not just your Sunday, but your eternity. The separation is here. Chosen one. The only question remaining is, are you ready to stand on the right side of heaven's divide? Dear chosen one, let me ask you something that might cut deeper than you're prepared for. Do you remember the night you cried so hard your pillow was soaked through? Do you remember the betrayal that left you questioning if anyone could ever be trusted again? Do you remember staring at that empty chair at the dinner table, the one that used to hold your spouse, your child, your dreams? You thought those memories were buried. You thought time had healed what trauma had torn open. But this Sunday, something sacred is about to happen that will resurrect every wound you've tried to forget. This Sunday, the trumpet will not sound outside, it will sound inside. deep in the chambers of your heart where you've locked away the pain. It will awaken the memories you buried, the betrayal that shattered your trust, the nights you lay alone wondering if God had abandoned you, the unanswered prayers that left you questioning everything you believed about His goodness. But listen to me carefully, beloved. What you've called your greatest failures, God calls your greatest qualifications. You see, most people think pain disqualifies you from purpose. The world looks at your scars and sees damage. Your family looks at your struggles and whispers about your weaknesses. Even the church sometimes makes you feel like your wounds are evidence that you lack faith. But heaven sees something completely different. Your pain was not wasted. It was rehearsal for recognition. Every tear you've cried in secret has been collected in golden bowls before the throne of God. Psalm 56:8 declares, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle." Not some of your tears, all of them. Every midnight sob, every whispered, "Why me, Lord?" Every moment you felt forgotten, forsaken, abandoned by the very God you've served faithfully for decades. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. Those wounds aren't random. They're strategic. Hell didn't attack you because you were weak. Hell attacked you because you were dangerous. The devil doesn't waste ammunition on empty targets. He reserves his most vicious assaults for those carrying the most precious cargo. Think about Joseph. 17 years old with dreams from heaven, only to be thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in prison. For 13 years, Joseph's wounds were his only companions. But Genesis 50:20 reveals the mystery. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Your wounds were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to develop you. That betrayal that nearly broke you, it taught you discernment that will protect others from the same trap. That financial collapse that left you eating beans from a can, it gave you the empathy to minister to those drowning in poverty. That diagnosis that terrified you into sleepless nights, it proved that God's strength is perfected in weakness, qualifying you to comfort others walking through their own valley of the shadow of death. But why this Sunday? Why now? Because after decades of carrying those wounds in silence, heaven is about to transform them into weapons. You've been like David, hiding in the caves, running from King Saul, wondering if God's promise of kingship was just a cruel joke. Every wound inflicted by those who should have protected you, every rejection from those who should have received you, every moment you felt like an outsider in your own family, your own church, your own life. But David's cave years weren't punishment, they were preparation. 1 Samuel 22:2 tells us that everyone in distress, in debt, and discontented gathered around David, and he became their commander. The broken led by the broken, the wounded healing the wounded, the rejected becoming the refuge for other rejects. This Sunday, God is calling you out of your cave. Those wounds are not scars of shame, they are heaven's fingerprints proving you are chosen. Look at Jesus. Even after resurrection, he still carried his scars. John 20:27 records him saying to Thomas, "Put your finger here, see my hands, reach out your hand and put it into my side." The Son of God could have healed those wounds completely, but he chose to keep them. Why? Because scars are the proof of survival. Scars are the evidence of victory. Scars are the credentials of someone who went through hell and came back to tell about it. Your depression that almost killed you, that's your qualification to pull others back from the edge. Your addiction that nearly destroyed your family, that's your authority to break chains that have bound others for generations. Your divorce that left you feeling worthless, that's your platform to speak hope into broken homes. Right now, as I speak these words, someone is sitting in their car crying about the same thing that brought you to your knees 5 years ago. Someone is lying awake tonight feeling the same abandonment you felt. Someone needs to hear from someone who's been there, who's walked through that fire, who knows the way out because they've traveled that road. This is why your wounds will not stay silent this Sunday. God is about to activate them as your ministry, transform them into your message, convert your mess into your mission. But here's the urgency that should grip your heart right now. The window for this transformation is narrow. This Sunday represents a cosmic moment when heaven reaches down to earth and says, "Enough hiding, enough shame. Enough letting the enemy convince you that your pain disqualifies you." If you don't step into this moment, if you let fear keep you silent, if you let shame keep you hidden, that pain will remain just pain. But if you surrender those wounds to God's purpose this Sunday, they become the very foundation of your calling. Whisper aloud right now, "My wounds are my witness." Don't just think it, speak it. Let the angels hear your declaration. Let the enemy hear your defiance. Let God hear your surrender. Because, beloved, the trumpet is about to sound, not in the sky but in your spirit. And when it does, every wound you've tried to forget will become a weapon you can't wait to wield. But the question that will determine everything is this: when that trumpet sounds in your heart this Sunday, will you answer the call? You've been seeing it, haven't you? The same numbers on the clock, the same verses jumping off the page, the same dreams that won't let you sleep, the same whisper in your spirit that keeps saying, "Sunday, Sunday, Sunday." You thought it was your imagination. You told yourself you were reading too much into things. But what if I told you that repetition is God's native language? Listen to me, chosen one. When the Almighty wants to get your attention, He doesn't shout once and walk away. He repeats. He echoes. He loops His voice through your life until you can't ignore it anymore. And right now, He's been looping one word through the spiritual atmosphere like a divine heartbeat. Sunday is not random. It is written. Look at your life this past month. How many times have you felt drawn to pray on Sunday mornings before you even got to church? How many times have you woken up on Sunday with an unexplainable heaviness in your chest? How many Sundays have you felt like something was trying to break through but couldn't quite reach you? That wasn't coincidence. That was preparation. Sunday is not routine. It is revelation. The enemy has spent decades trying to make Sunday feel ordinary to you. Just another day, just another service, just another obligation. But God is about to shatter that illusion like glass hitting concrete, because this Sunday carries a frequency that hasn't vibrated through the earth in your lifetime. Think about the repetitions in Scripture. God told Abraham 3 times that he would be the father of nations. He called Moses from the burning bush twice. He spoke to Samuel 3 times in the night. When Jesus prayed in Gethsemane, he repeated the same prayer 3 times. Why? Because repetition is how heaven emphasizes what cannot be missed. And you, dear one, have been living in a divine loop for weeks. Sunday is not the end. It is the beginning. But here's what's going to shake you to your core. Every time you've felt that pull toward Sunday worship, every time you've sensed something stirring in the spiritual realm on the Lord's Day, every time you've whispered, "God, I'm ready for something new," during Sunday service, you weren't just praying. You were prophesying your own breakthrough. The loop wasn't tormenting you. It was training you. Your spirit has been rehearsing for this moment without your mind even knowing it. That restlessness you feel every Sunday evening, that's not disappointment that nothing happened. That's anticipation that something's coming. That ache in your chest during worship, that's not emptiness, that's expansion. God has been stretching your spiritual capacity to hold what He's about to pour out. But I need to ask you something that might cut deep. How many divine loops have you broken by your own impatience? How many times has God been circling back to the same message, the same opportunity, the same door, and you've walked away because you thought His repetition meant His rejection? When God repeats, it is not because He forgot, it's because He wants to make sure you don't. Moses walked around Mount Sinai for 40 years. 40 years of the same mountain, the same path, the same wilderness. But it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Because when God finally said cross over, Moses was so spiritually conditioned, so divinely aligned, that he split the Red Sea with a wooden stick. You've been circling your mountain too, haven't you? The same financial struggles, the same relationship patterns, the same health battles, the same spiritual dry seasons. And you've been asking God, why do I keep facing the same thing over and over? Because this Sunday, you're not walking around the mountain anymore, you're walking through it. The repetition stops when recognition begins, and recognition begins when you stop running from the loop and start learning from it. Every Sunday that felt empty was actually filling you. Every service that felt routine was actually rewiring you. Every prayer that felt repetitive was actually repositioning you. This is why your spirit won't let you rest this week. This is why that word Sunday keeps echoing in your prayers. This is why you can't shake the feeling that something massive is about to shift. Because the loop is about to become a launch. In Revelation, Jesus spoke to 7 churches. 7. That's the number of completion, of divine perfection, of cycles fulfilled. And here you are, having walked through your own 7 seasons of Sunday preparation, standing at the threshold of your spiritual completion. But completion doesn't mean ending. It means beginning with the fullness of everything you've learned in the loop. The Israelites marched around Jericho for 7 days. 7 days of the same path, the same routine, the same silent obedience. But on the 7th day, when they completed the loop, the walls didn't just crack, they collapsed entirely. What had stood for generations was obliterated in one supernatural moment. This Sunday is your 7th day. The walls that have contained your calling, limited your faith, and defined your limitations are about to meet the sound of heaven's trumpet. And when they fall, dear one, they won't just create an opening, they'll create an explosion. Comment, I hear the repetition if this loop is echoing in your spirit right now, because what I'm about to reveal next will explain exactly why God chose this specific Sunday to break every cycle that has held you captive. The repetition was never your prison, it was your preparation. And now, everything you've circled around is about to surrender to the authority you've gained by refusing to quit the loop. Dear chosen one, let me ask you something that's going to cut straight to your heart. Why have you been through hell and back, while others seem to glide through life untouched? Why did you have to bury your spouse while your neighbor celebrates 50 years of marriage? Why did cancer knock on your door when the person down the street has never seen the inside of a hospital? You've been asking the wrong question. The question isn't why you went through the fire. The question is why you're still standing after walking through it. Turn with me to Daniel chapter 3. King Nebuchadnezzar built a furnace so hot that the soldiers who threw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into it died from the heat before they could step back, 7 times hotter than normal, 7 times more intense than anything they'd ever experienced. But when the king looked into that furnace, he didn't see 3 men burning. He saw 4 men walking around freely, and the 4th looked like the Son of God. That's your story, beloved. That's your testimony. You think that diagnosis was meant to destroy you? You think that foreclosure notice was meant to break you? You think burying your child, losing your job at 68, watching your retirement evaporate in the stock market crash, you think any of that was random? Number, you were thrown into furnaces because heaven knew something about you that hell was trying to prevent. You carry something so powerful, so threatening to the kingdom of darkness, that the enemy had to turn up the heat 7 times hotter just to try to stop you. But look at yourself right now. Really look. You survived the fire of chemotherapy when the doctors gave you 6 months. You walked through the flames of bankruptcy and still found a way to keep food on the table. You endured the furnace of grief that should have consumed you completely, yet here you are, still breathing, still believing, still standing. The fire of empty bank accounts couldn't burn you up. The fire of divorce papers couldn't reduce you to ash. The fire of that phone call at 2 a.m. telling you your child was gone, even that inferno couldn't destroy what God planted in you before time began. Do you know why? Because you didn't walk through those flames alone. Listen to me carefully. Every senior saint watching this who has walked through the valley of the shadow of death and lived to tell about it, you are living proof that the fourth man still shows up in the furnace. When the heat got unbearable, when you thought you couldn't take one more step, when the flames were licking at your faith itself, somebody else stepped into that fire with you. Maybe you felt him in the ICU when the machines were keeping you alive. Maybe you sensed his presence in that empty house after the funeral. Maybe you heard his voice whispering strength when you were counting pennies at the grocery store, wondering how you'd make it through another month. That wasn't your imagination. That was the Son of God himself, walking with you through flames that were designed to destroy you but couldn't even singe your garments. The enemy made one fatal mistake. He revealed that you're carrying something he desperately wants to stop. Why else would he orchestrate such elaborate schemes to take you out? Why else would he send his most vicious attacks against a 70-year-old grandmother in Queens? Why else would he mobilize hell itself against an 85-year-old grandfather in Brooklyn? Because he knows what Sunday is about to activate in your life. Here's what breaks my heart. Some of you are sitting there right now, ashamed of your scars, embarrassed by your struggles, apologizing for the fire you've walked through as if it makes you less valuable to God. But those scars aren't evidence of your weakness, they're evidence of your calling. Every scar tells a story of a battle you won. Every wrinkle is a line of wisdom carved by walking through impossible circumstances. Every gray hair is a crown of glory that proves you've been tested by fire and emerged as pure gold. The prophet Malachi said it perfectly. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. The fire you've endured wasn't random suffering. It was divine refinement. God wasn't punishing you in that furnace. He was purifying you. He wasn't abandoning you in those flames. He was preparing you for something so magnificent that it required someone who had been tested by fire. You want to know the difference between the chosen ones and everyone else? Everyone else runs from the fire. But you learn to worship in it. Everyone else begs God to take them out of the furnace, but you discovered how to find him in it. And now, this Sunday, God is about to reveal why every flame was worth it. Why every tear you cried in secret was collected in golden bowls before his throne. Why every night you didn't sleep because of pain was actually a vigil preparing you for this moment. The fire wasn't sent to destroy you, chosen one. It was sent to prove to heaven, earth, and hell itself that you carry the DNA of the Almighty, that when pressure comes, you don't crack, you shine. When heat rises, you don't melt, you transform. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul right now. The same fire that refined you is about to become the fire you carry. The same flames that tested you are about to become the light that guides others. Sunday isn't just about your personal breakthrough. It's about you stepping into your role as a beacon for this generation. If you've walked through the fire and come out unsinged, if you've been refined in the furnace and emerged as gold, if you know beyond any doubt that you didn't survive alone, lift your hand right now. Type, "He walked with me in the fire." Let heaven take notice that you remember who carried you through. Because what God is about to release through those who've been proven in the furnace will set this nation ablaze with revival. But first, you must remember that your fire wasn't punishment. It was preparation for the inferno of glory about to be released through your life. The question burning in heaven's throne room right now is this: will you finally understand that your trials weren't meant to break you, but to reveal the royalty that was always flowing through your veins? Dear chosen one, let me ask you something that's going to cut straight to the bone. How many crossroads have you stood at in your life? How many times have you felt that weight in your chest, knowing that what you choose next will determine everything that follows? You've been circling the same spiritual mountain for years, haven't you? Round and round, praying the same prayers, carrying the same burdens, waiting for the same breakthrough that always seems just out of reach. But this Sunday, this coming Sunday, the signpost comes down. Left or right, chosen or forgotten, life or spiritual death. There are no more circles to walk. In Deuteronomy 30-19, Moses stood before an entire generation and declared something that still echoes through eternity. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. Did you catch that? Moses didn't say hope for life or wish for blessing. He said "Kus," because, dear one, some doors require a decision, not just a desire. This Sunday isn't just another service you'll attend out of habit. This Sunday is your courtroom moment, and heaven itself is watching to see what verdict you'll render over your own destiny. The gavel is in your hand, but the sound it makes when it falls will echo through generations you'll never meet. You see, God doesn't play games with crossroads. When He positions you at an intersection, it's because everything behind you has been preparation for everything ahead of you. But here's what's shaking me to my core right now. What if this is your final crossroad? What if every delay, every disappointment, every unanswered prayer has been leading to this single moment when heaven says, "Now, choose now"? Think about the rich young ruler in Matthew 19. He came to Jesus asking what he must do to inherit eternal life. Jesus looked at him. Scripture says, He loved him and gave him a choice, one crossroad. Go and sell that thou hast, and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me. But the young man went away sorrowful, because he had great possessions. One choice, one crossroad, one moment that determined his eternal trajectory. The Bible never mentions him again. That crossroad became his tombstone. How many of you are that young man right now? How many of you have been given chance after chance, crossroad after crossroad, and each time you've chosen comfort over calling, security over surrender, the familiar over the faithful? This Sunday, the courtroom of heaven convenes over your life, not to condemn you, but to confirm you, not to judge your past, but to establish your future. But dear chosen one, confirmation requires your cooperation. Destiny demands your decision. I need you to understand something that might terrify you. Every soul reaches a point where God stops asking and starts sealing, where mercy transitions into judgment, where the door of opportunity doesn't just close, it locks, and the sound of that lock clicking shut has haunted more souls than all the demons in hell combined. Revelation 3-8 records Jesus speaking to the church in Philadelphia. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. But notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say that door stays open forever. He doesn't promise endless opportunities. He says, I have, set past tense. The door is open now, but the implication is clear. Doors that are opened can also be closed. What door is standing open in your life this Sunday? What opportunity has been knocking so long that you've grown deaf to its sound? What calling have you been running from that's finally cornered you at this crossroad? Your children are watching. Your grandchildren are waiting. Generations yet to be born are holding their breath to see what choice you make this Sunday. Because crossroads don't just affect you, they create legacy or destroy it. They birth bloodlines of blessing or perpetuate cycles of curse. But here's the weight that's crushing my spirit right now. Sunday isn't just another day. Sunday is your sentence, not a punishment, a declaration, a decree that will be read in the courts of heaven and recorded in the annals of eternity. And once that sentence is pronounced, once that gavel falls, what's written is written. Jesus said in John 5:24, Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that heareth my word and believeth on him that sent me hath everlasting life, and shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death unto life. But that passage assumes you hear. It assumes you believe. It assumes you pass from one state to another. What if you've been standing at the threshold between death and life for years, one foot in each realm, never fully crossing over? This Sunday, that spiritual limbo ends. The courtroom demands a verdict. The crossroad demands a choice. In the next few moments, I'm going to show you exactly what that choice looks like. I'm going to reveal the 3 signs that prove this Sunday is your appointed hour. But right now, before we go deeper, I need you to stake your claim in eternity. Right now, declare in the comments, I choose life. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Now, stamp your decision before heaven and earth. Let the angels witness your choice. Let the enemy hear your declaration. Let God see your faith activating in real time. Because what you choose in the next 60 seconds will determine what God releases in the next 60 years. The crossroad is here. The courtroom is in session. And your destiny is waiting for your decision. Beloved chosen ones, as we reach the end of this sacred journey together, I need you to remember 3 eternal truths that will anchor your soul in the storms ahead. First, this Sunday isn't just another day on your calendar, it's your divine appointment with destiny. The spiritual earthquake we've spoken of, the coronation that awaits you, the crown that heaven has prepared, none of this is metaphor. This is your reality breaking through into the visible realm. Second, your age is not your limitation, it's your liberation. Every gray hair, every wrinkle, every year you've walked this earth has been preparing you for this moment when God says, now you're ready. Now you have what it takes to carry the weight of my glory. Moses at 80, Sarah at 90, Abraham at 99, you stand in their lineage, carrying their DNA of divine impossibility. And third, the attacks you've endured, the isolation you felt, the moments when you wondered if God had forgotten your name, all of it was strategy, not abandonment. You were being prepared for a calling so significant that it required decades of refinement to make you ready. But hear me clearly. Precious soul, you are not walking this path alone. Even when the road feels uncertain, even when doubt whispers lies in your ear, even when the enemy tries to convince you that your best days are behind you, the Creator of the universe is working behind the scenes on your behalf. He's moving mountains you can't see, opening doors you haven't found yet, and orchestrating blessings you can't even imagine. And beyond God's presence, you have a community right here. Thousands of believers just like you, carrying the same calling, feeling the same fire, walking the same narrow road that leads to supernatural impact. We're not just viewers on a screen, we're family in the spirit. So let me ask you this final question, and let it settle deep in your heart. Now that you know who you really are, now that you understand this Sunday is your turning point, what will you do with this revelation? Will you step boldly into your coronation, or will you let fear convince you to stay small? Before I release you into your destiny, place your hand on your heart, and let me pray over you with the authority of someone who has walked with God for decades. Almighty Father, Creator of heaven and earth, the Ancient of Days, I place my hand on the shoulder of every precious soul who has stayed with us through this entire message. Lord, you see them, not just their pain, but their potential, not just their past, but their purpose, not just their scars, but their strength. Tonight, you have awakened something powerful in their spirit. You have reminded them that their crown was never removed, only hidden until this appointed time. So I pray that you would breathe fresh wind into their weary souls. Where they feel depleted, restore them. Where they feel forgotten, remind them of their worth. Where they feel overwhelmed, be their strength. God, I pray for supernatural encounters this Sunday. Let them feel your presence so strongly that doubt has no place to land. Give them dreams that direct them, visions that guide them, divine appointments that confirm they are exactly where you need them to be. Open doors that no man can shut. Provide resources they haven't even thought to ask for. Send people into their lives who will recognize their anointing and help them step fully into their calling. Surround them with believers who see their value, who honor their wisdom, who will walk alongside them without trying to dim their light. For their families, Lord, heal the relationships that can be healed and give them peace about the ones that cannot. Let their children and grandchildren witness this transformation and be drawn back to you through their testimony. For their health, Father, touch every cell, every organ, every system in their bodies. Where there is pain, bring relief. Where there is sickness, bring healing. Where there is weakness, bring strength. Let them live to see your promises fulfilled in their lives. And most of all, Lord, let them never doubt again that they are chosen, they are loved, and they are never, ever alone. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Now, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, share how this message has impacted your heart. What shifted in your spirit today? What are you believing God for in this season of your life? Don't hold back. Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to remember their own calling. If you're ready to step into your coronation this Sunday, type "Crown me, Lord" in the comments. If you felt the Holy Spirit confirming your identity as chosen, type "I am chosen." And if this message touched your soul, please share it with someone who needs to remember that their best days aren't behind them, they're ahead of them. Thank you for spending this sacred time with me. Thank you for opening your heart, for letting these words penetrate the deepest places of your soul, for being brave enough to believe that maybe, just maybe, God still has incredible plans for your life. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. Every week, we're gathering here to remind each other that our stories aren't over, our callings haven't expired, and our God is still writing miracles into ordinary lives. Until we meet again, wear your crown with dignity, walk in the authority of your calling, and never forget, this Sunday, everything changes. You are loved, you are chosen, you are never alone. Go in peace, chosen one. Your coronation awaits.